Change mind. Part 2. The power of a changed mind. Part 2. I told you I wasn't finna get off of that. Didn't I say it? I'm telling you. And we're going to get some good stuff. Power of a changed mind, part 2. If the enemy is ever going to start to sway you, he will always sway you in your thinking. Most people don't recognize the enemy starts attacking you as a child to change how you think. And once a mind is damaged, actions follow. Damaged mind creates damaged actions. Because the enemy understands if I can get you early, people don't recognize some things you were gotten early so he can hold you later. Oftentimes things happen to you in your childhood. Damage happens in your childhood. People don't recognize a lot of the activity in your life is from your childhood. Because see, what we don't recognize, what lies in everybody is a child part of you and an adult part of you. And the child part can be so damaged that it still controls the adult part of you. Oh, this ain't gonna shout you, but it'll help you. It'll help you know why you shouting. People don't recognize in your childhood, in your younger ages, things happen with a purpose, a mandate to shut you down and damage you. Because if I damage the mind, I damage the person. Because the mind is the key. Because whoever controls the mind controls the thing. Whoever controls the mind controls the thing. Because if your mind don't change, even when you get out of the stuff, your mind is still stuck. Your mind will have you acting as if you're still into something, even though you're out of it. Because see, when you get to a point to where you're not certain about change, you start preparing for the wrong thing. Because see, even though you're out, you're still waiting on stuff to collapse. You're still waiting on stuff to, let me show you something. Oftentimes, if you go through a state in relationships and people end up leaving and people leaving, you develop a leaving syndrome. So even when you get something good, now you look at it and ask it how long it's going to be before you leave. Because everything else left. My daddy left. Things left. And that kind of syndrome is more mental than it is physical. When Mephibosheth was dropped by his carriers, even when David brought him in to take care of him, to put him back in his rightful place as a king's seed, his response was, "What do you want with such a dog as I?" Because even though he was sitting at the king's table, his mind was still in Lodabar. Ooh. Because see, you can be blessed and still waiting on things to fail. Positioning yourself because see, it's hard for us to see. Elder said it the other day. If you don't stay with stuff, you eventually go back to what you come out of. Israel had gotten all the way out of Egypt and all the way out of Egypt, and the first thing they say was, "Let us build a captain and go back." How do you go back to the thing you prayed to get out of? You pray for God to get you out of something. You pray for God to bring something to an end. And here you are resuscitating the thing that you said because your mouth said you wanted to be out, but your mind said you needed to stay in. Because oftentimes you can be so damaged that you're comfortable with damage. You can be so damaged that you'll lower yourself to fit damage. Ooh, this looks like it's going to be a tough one. This is something that people say. People say God can do anything. No, that's a lie. That's a lie. God can't do anything. First of all, he can't work with unbelief. That's number one. That's number one. And he can't work with a limited mind. Because God is limitless. And you're trying to put limits on God. So God says, before I participate, I'll just let you do your thing. And see, what happened is, most of us live an Arnold Palmer life. You live on a Palmer life. Half of your mind is free, half of your mind is in bondage. You live on a Palmer life. When you live on a Palmer life, then you run around there. You know, it's like catch you which day you catch me on. You know, because if my mind ain't, see, when my mind's stable, if I'm in an ugly place, I'm still stable in an ugly place. That's when you know you're solid. When you know you're solid is you can be in an ugly place and still be stable and not intimidated because you believe. Because let me show you something. This is something people don't tell you. Your mind work your members. Romans chapter 7, 23 through 25. Look what he says. But I see another law in my members. To the law of sin. So you got a war going on between your mind and your members. Your mind will say one thing, but your members say, I need something else. And if you don't if you don't learn to get your mind strong enough to control your members, then your members, this is called being carnal. There's three types of people in church. There's natural people, there's carnal people, and then there's spiritual people. Natural, carnal, and spiritual. Natural minded man receiveth not the things of God because they're foolish unto him. They at church, but I don't believe nothing what goes on at the church. And then the carnal people believe half of what he say and half of what he does. Depends on what day you catch me on. If you catch me on a fleshly day, then this is where I'm at. That's like I'm depressed. I'm on a fleshly day. But if you catch me on a spiritual day, I can quote some scriptures and tell you some stuff. I can make your head spin around on your body. I just can't hold up under pressure. Paul said there's a law working. It's in my mind, but it works my members. If you have a contaminated mind, it'll work your members. Let me show you. Some people have that suspicious mind. You have a negative mind. That's how it works your members. Let me show you something. Oftentimes what people don't recognize, you look old before your time because of what's in your spirit. If you're going to eat a lot of negative and stuff, it'll weigh you out. It'll weigh you out. It'll have you looking rough because you got stuff in your head. You think everybody don't like you. You think this and you're thinking something. That's what I tell folks. Could it be, just maybe, I ain't saying it is, but just could it be, it ain't everybody else's issues? Could it just mean the issue is you? It's you. Because of how you think. You can't embrace people. You can't move. You're nervous about everything. You're intimidated. Everything. That ain't got nothing to do with everybody else. It's got something to do with you. So when your mind is contaminated, you find all kind of foolishness come in. You scared, you nervous, you worried about this and all that kind of stuff. Romans chapter 8, verse 6. Ooh, is the police behind you, guys? That's one of my old members from Texas. And I thought the police were behind them from Texas. Look what it says. Look what it says. Look what it says. To be carnally minded. Okay, let me show you something. How many take a bath? I'm just saying. I'm talking about in a tub. Listen, I mean, listen, listen. I'm talking about in a tub. When you take a bath in a tub and you get out of the tub, it leaves a ring. Half of you is in the tub because it's death. So the scripture says to be carnally minded eventually leads you to dead places. So see, if you don't eventually grow spiritually, you're going to be all right going to dead places. And you're going to struggle because you're in a dead place. But look what he says. But to be spiritually minded, but it ain't just life, it's peace too. See, a lot of your frustration is your mind. And your mind will work you overtime. And when we go through things as a child, that little child in us can still work us. Because I can hear my mama saying this, and I can hear it, and it's still in your head, and I can hear this say this, and it's still in your head. So now you're nervous about everybody based on where you come from. So now I come to church, and I struggle. Say sanctified at church, but I struggle because I got a messed up mind. 1 Corinthians 13:11. What Paul said. When I spake, I understood, I thought, but when I became a man, I put away childish things. Paul says when I had a child mentality, it's because I talked. Look what he says. He said, I understood. That's why you're so easily offended. Some stuff on the hair, you in a rage just soon as stuff said. That usually means you childish because you so easily offended. And the truth is you still wounded. It's a lot of stuff that's in your life you still wounded and it still control you even though it's gone because you got to protect yourself. That's how come when people say stuff, they got to re-say it because as a child, what you saying? Person can walk up to you, oh, you look nice today. What you saying? I said, you look nice. How did you hear it? Because oftentimes how you hear is from your filter. And if you hear from a damaged filter, everything said to you damages you. Look at this. He says, because of my understanding, it led me to my thoughts. First of all, I spake as a child, came out my mouth negative. I understood as a child, and then my thoughts was childish. And he said, I ended up with childish fruit because of the things I did. You cannot have a fruitful life if you're going to have a childish mindset. Some people don't recognize some relationships don't work for you because you got people with too much childishness. Because childishness makes us miss what God's trying to do. The enemy job is to keep us as a child. But when I became a man, I put away everything that wasn't fruitful. Ooh. Because the enemy job is to teach the child to hinder the adult. I always remember what they said to me. I'm not telling you they didn't say it, but I'm asking you when you're going to get over it. We struggle with people out of our lives who are not productive. I didn't have a daddy, but look how good you did without a daddy. Have you ever thought about maybe God moved him out your life so you could flourish? Now you don't owe nobody. And what you lose naturally, God can give to you spiritually. Because you can have a spiritual father or spiritual mother who mentors you and gets you where you need to be. Why are you worrying about what you lost? And you don't have to throw it away. You just have to be solid enough to know that God kept you alive so you can do the things you need to do. And so what the enemy's job is to build strongholds. If I damage you enough, strongholds or the things that hold you strong. Strongholds actually means to be fenced in by how you think. Some things, it ain't that you can't afford it, it ain't that you can't have it, it's that you think you can. Some things God can't make happen for you because you really don't want it. You're scared of it. Because as soon as something start happening and you start thinking, you start finding it negative. Well, you know that costs a lot of money, and when it tears up, you ain't going to be able to afford it. You need a good job to talk yourself right out of it. But you go in somebody else's place and go, ooh, that is really nice. Because what you're saying, that's really nice for them. Well, what about you? I expect everybody in here to have anything that I have and some. Because I want to come to your house. I want to come to your house. I want to hear you say, I was inspired by what you had, so I'm coming to your house. Years ago, 30-some years ago, went on a cruise. First time went on a cruise. Couldn't afford a cruise. Never when they let you lay away the cruise. Lay away the cruise. And I had just started Right Spirit Ministries. Went on a cruise. When I went on a cruise, come back, mother say, if you went on a cruise, I'm going on one too. Now she the cruise queen. But she only did it because she saw me do it. And it broke the limitations of, you know, how we are. We start finding, well, you know, there's a lot of water out there. You can't go on a cruise because there's a lot of water out there. Oh my God, there's a lot of water out there. When the last cruise ship you heard sink? Tell yourself, when the last cruise ship you heard sink? The only trouble you had with cruise ship was COVID. Other than that, you ain't heard no cruise ship sink. So what you scared of? See, that's a mindset. That's a mindset that limits you to the things that the enemy wants you to keep. Because it ain't fun. If you can't go on water or by air, you pretty limited. And because see, you want to go to California, but you don't want to drive 22 hours. So you know what you say? I ain't going. When you can get on a flight and go in 4 hours. But because of your mindset, and half of that is most of the folks you run with don't go nowhere. Most of the folks you run with don't go nowhere, and that keeps you comfortable because they ain't going nowhere, and you ain't going nowhere either. Because see, as you grow, you should grow friends that provoke you to do better. When your same people are in your circle, that's your history. And history can't talk about destiny. So if all the people you got to talk about, I remember when we were broke, we ain't had nothing. We used to put money together and we used to buy chicken and split it up. And then here you go, yeah, girl, I remember that. Ha, ha, ha. We ain't going nowhere. Start talking about going somewhere, even in the city. That's too expensive. I can't go there. What? You think I'm going to spend that kind of money on what? I can buy a whole week of groceries. I said something in our church years ago and people got mad because I said it. I said when Jesus stopped, he's going to have to make a stop by places like Golden Corral. When he broke the cloud, he ain't going to find a lot of people at church, but if he stop at Golden Corral, because we'll go to Golden Corral and feed ourselves. Because your mindset's so small, you won't go nowhere where you got a waiter, because you got to tip them. Now you got to go feed yourself, and everybody's over the food and everything else. And there's nothing wrong with starting places. There's nothing wrong with places for lunch. But when do you have it on your list to do something for you? Stop trying to get other folks to take you to places you won't go. I'm waiting on somebody to take me. Look like you're going to wait a while. But it's because I damage. Exodus chapter 1, verse 10 and 11. This is what Pharaoh says when they start finding out about the Israelites. Look, the first thing it says. Come on, let us deal wisely with them. In other words, let's con them. That's tricks of the enemy. Let's deal wisely with them. Let's con them. Let's keep them struggling. Let's keep them. And then it says, lest they multiply and it come to pass that when they fall out any war, they join also unto the enemies and fight against us. And so get them up out of the land. Verse 11. Therefore they did set over them. Okay, when the enemy gets ready to hinder you, he sets stuff in place. Okay, some of you look straight ahead because I don't want to look straight ahead. Some of the people who were in your life were hit people. They had one agenda, and that was to keep you at the blessed place. They wasn't going nowhere, so the enemy used them. And they would hit people to come and mess you up. They had one assignment to keep you out of your assignment. He did set taskmasters over them to afflict them with their burdens. I'll stop right there. He set taskmasters in place to afflict them. But I like what God says on down in the next verse. It says, but the more they afflict them, the more they grew. See, God says, I got somewhere for you to go. I got somewhere for you to be. And I need you to understand the afflictions in your life can't kill you. They can only build you if you use it the right way. Sometimes you have to look at stuff and say, yeah, I've been through that. Yeah. And sometimes you got to let the devil know you hit me pretty good with that one. Yeah. But let me tell you, I'm back on my feet. I ain't standing square up yet, but I'm back on my feet. I was on my face, but I'm back on my feet. And if you give me enough time, I'll be back on my feet standing straight up. Because what you didn't finish, that's your problem. You should have killed me while you had a chance. You should have got rid of me when you thought you had me where you wanted me to be. Because after this, I'm coming up out of this. Because what we don't recognize, 95% of the stuff that most people deal with, we're hindered by a belief system. 95% of us are hindered by what we believe. And your belief system was built by what you surround. Because everything you know, somebody taught you. So if you're going to change the direction and where you're going, you got to change how you think. Because that belief system has developed a fence, and you're limited because of the fencing. And the only way you get past the fence is you got to figure out how to break it. Because the enemy going to always keep you fenced in by how you think. It ain't that you can't do stuff. It's that you don't believe you can. See, some stuff you have to be so taught out of, it takes a minute for you to get out of. It's a system, step by step. You don't get there overnight. See, I know people told you to turn around 3 times, run to the back and come to the front and be broke. No. See, teaching got you in. Teaching has to get you out. You didn't learn this overnight, and you're not going to fix this. Mm-hmm. Because the enemy understands one thing. If you develop a system that holds you into place, he don't have to fight you because you believe in the system. And he'll work the system to the max. He'll work it to the max till he convince you that you can't, you ain't, and you won't. And so what happens is when life starts hitting us, we develop belief systems. We even develop different mindsets. I'm just going to go through a couple just to show you how we go. We go to mindsets. We can deal with a suspicious mindset. See, when I'm not a person who like a lot of people, then I'm assuming most folks don't like me either. Because I got a suspicious mindset. What you looking for? What you want? So what I do is I come into church with a stay the hell out of my face look. And then turn around and get mad when people stay the hell out your face. They don't talk to me. Don't nobody say nothing to me. That's all right. The Lord is with me. And you can't speak to nobody. You think you deep and you can't speak? And when we get a suspicious mindset, even when stuff done for us good, we kind of figure out, well, it's hard to receive with a suspicious mindset. Because when you got a suspicious mindset, people be trying to bless you, be talking about, no, I don't need it. When you got let me tell you something. I'm like this. I don't care what you do for me. I'll tell it. You ain't got to tell it. If you said the Lord told you to give me $100, I'm taking the 100. And I don't care what you say, I'll testify. Won't he do it? I'm not suspicious at all. I'm not worried about what you gave it to me for, because I tell people quick, I'll spend your money, I'll eat your chicken wings, I'll sit at your table, I'll ride in your car, but I'm going to still tell you the truth. Now, you're going to get mad, and I don't care nothing about you getting mad, but I'm going to still tell you the truth. I'm going to be straight up with you, and we ain't going to have no foolishness, because I'm going to tell you the truth. Okay? So guess what? You ain't got to be suspicious about me. I'm straight up. I'm going to tell you just what I think and how I feel. So when you get a suspicious mindset, blessings can't come to you because you can't even receive them. Now, there are some people who did stuff for you and talk. But everybody didn't. That's their problem. You did something for me and talk, you lost your blessing. Or the blessing you were supposed to get, you're not going to get it because you done told everybody. Okay, tell it. I tell them my lights was off and you had them turned on. Heck no. You ain't been, No. I don't know, baby. I tell them my lights was off and you turn them on. Because I remember one time when I was going through a foreclosure and people, during that time, just put it in paper. And people come up and tell me, I seen your paper. I said, yeah. Yeah, it was in the paper. I said, let me tell you something. I found out if you don't pay for stuff, they'll take it. Now, why am I going to let you get on my nerves about something I couldn't pay? Because it used to be time in the newspaper they had foreclosure, divorce, and people would go in there and find folks divorced. Like you want to marry the person who divorced. What? You nosy. You paid 50, 75 cents for a paper for finding out who lost their house, who lost their spouse. Why? Because I'm suspicious of folks who find out all the news. You find out the news for the news find out the news. That's called nosy. Messing with stuff. Another mindset we develop, low value. Look, when we don't have much value for ourselves, then we'll attract people to us. Buzzards beget buzzards. You can't expect for an eagle to run with a buzzard. And a giraffe don't talk to a turtle. So when you get a low mindset, you'll do things from a low standard. That's a mindset. It ain't that you can't do better. It's that you choose not to do better. That leads us into an inferiority complex. Inferiority complex. What is an inferiority complex? First of all, inferiority complex means I feel inferior to you. I feel lesser than you. I may not say it, and then I'll raise my voice and all that kind of stuff, but the real truth is the reason I act the way I act, I feel lesser than you. That's by choice. Two traits come with inferiority complex. Some of you might be suffering from it right now. Two traits come with it. First of all, you won't do nothing because you ain't going to take a risk on somebody saying something about it. You've heard people say, oh, they just a plain Jane. That's a complex. Because everybody wants to look good and feel good about themselves. You're not plain Jane. You're just nervous that if it don't go well. Because you've been damaged with somebody that called you ugly or somebody that said something. So you play safe. Your whole life is safe. I don't want to do nothing. I don't go no further because I'm just safe. Even when God brings you out and puts you in a better place, you can't live up to it because you're still trying to play safe. Because the first thing you holler, just in case. See, you can't have faith and live a just in case. Either I trust God or I don't. And life will take you through some, and you can't fix it no kind of way. So you playing safe, don't fix nothing. God said, when I open a door, I expect you to walk in it. When I put you in a place to learn more so you can do more, I expect, don't tell me you got it and ain't walking it. Because elders say a changed mind, changed behavior. So don't tell me you got a changed mind and you got the same behavior. If you got the same mind, why you so nervous? Why you so scary? Why you won't try something new? Why you don't step beyond where you are? Why? If somebody asked you that, you couldn't even explain it. Ooh. First trait, you don't do nothing. Second trait is you overdo everything. See, when you got an inferiority complex, you got to overdo. You got to do this and you do this. That's how. And some of you have inferiority complex. Even when you go into relationships, you overdo. You just overdo. You give money. You do everything. You buy. Oh, I saw these socks and I saw this and about this. You just got to buy this and I just want to tell you that I'm. You because you're feeling inferior. So now you got. See, you ever heard people talking about buying friends? Inferiority complex make you buy friends. So you'll buy stuff for people who don't even like you. You know they talking about you, and you still buy it. Because you ain't got enough in you to say, you know what? You're going to talk about me, but you're going to be short. Because I ain't buying you nothing. I ain't putting nothing in your hand. And guess what? You already talking about me. So you act like you buying for them going to stop them from talking. The devil is a lie. If they're talking, they're going to be talking after you buy. Nope. Ain't gonna happen. So see, you overdo everything. And when you overdo everything, you put yourself in the place of usury. Now you feed the inferiority complex because you're being used and you know it. You're being used and you know it. How many times you've been with folks and you knew it? You knew you done overdid it. You knew you done went too far. You knew you done did whatever it was you wasn't supposed to do. So the enemy will always set things in motion to hinder you. You was hindered from your mother's womb. Some stuff started for you in your mother's womb. Coming out your mother's womb. Because the enemy already understands who you are when you don't understand who you are. You hadn't developed who you should be, but he already knows who you are. So he sets things in motion early to try to hinder you. Okay? When Moses was born, he's a baby. He's a little bitty baby like this baby here. You take this baby and so they decide to try to destroy him. So God takes him, put him in a basket in a Nile River that's full of crocodiles and let him float down the river. and he floats down the river and runs into somebody who's going to save him. Once the king's daughter decided to save him, then she took him home, and his mama was her maid. So now he's drinking milk from his mama through the system that God created for him. Because I don't care if the devil does try to kill you, when you're blessed, he can't do it. So you have to know the favor that's on your life. I don't care what side of the street you come off. I don't care what side of town you come off. I don't care what part of the hood you came out of. You got to say, that was then, this is now. Because if my mind, see, when your mindset changed, I was raised in the hood, but I'm not the hood. See, when you was raised in it and not it, that means I changed my mind. That's how come you can go back to the hood and see the same folks doing the same thing. Y'all was drunk on the corner. Now you old and drunk on the corner. And they committed to it. They committed to the failure of it. They just committed. They just committed to it because it's a mindset. It's a hood mindset. Because see, we laud to that. We get laud to that mindset. We laud to where I come from. Well, I don't want nobody to think. I don't want nobody to think. I don't give a lovely what you think. You're going to think what you're going to think anyway. So I'm not the one who worry about what you think. That's not what I'm going to do. But the enemy's job is to set stuff in motion for you to hinder you. Daniel chapter 1. Turn the air conditioner on, Jay. You don't pay the bill. Jay will have you burning up in here. Daniel chapter 1. And the king spake unto Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel and the king's seed of the princes. Next verse. Children in whom was no blemish, but well favored and skillful in all the wisdom and the cunning and in knowledge and the understanding of science, and had the ability of them to stand in the king's palace, and whom they might teach the learning and the tongues of the Chaldeans. Verse 5. And the king appointed to them daily provisions of the king's meat. You see there? Okay. First of all, they caught Daniel when he was small. If the enemy wants to really affect you, he started affecting you when you're small. The other thing they did, you see right there? They ate the king's meat. When you see the word meat in scripture, it is synonymous with teaching. So if an enemy wants to change you, he changes you by the teaching. So see, you can be raised in a place that you hate and turn around and duplicate the very same place because it was your teaching. You can be raised in a house where you didn't like what you saw and turn around and duplicate the house because it was your teaching. So if the enemy wants to break you, he breaks you with teaching. Look what he says. And of the wine which he did drink. Wine represents spirit. So if I get you with the teaching, I can break your spirit. If I can get you with the teaching, I can break your spirit. I can get you to the point to where you can be frustrated because of the teaching. That's how come whatever you were taught, you have to be retaught to be taught out of it. That's why you don't need a tune and an organ on every time you come to church, because you need to be able to be taught out of stuff that we done danced and danced and danced, but we ain't fixed nothing. And if you don't fix it, you don't come out. The organ ain't gonna be with you. You got to get some word in your head, and you got to get a mindset of how to do something, because when the organ ain't playing, you got to be your own music. You got to be your own drum. You got to be everything that's in your spirit about where you're going. And you can't go to a place you don't believe you should go in the first place. So in order for them to get Daniel, they tried to change them. Now they changed their name, Because the names was one thing. They changed the names and then they tried to change what they knew. Now the question is what you know. I ain't talking about what you heard. I ain't talking about what you thought about. I'm talking about what you know. Because if Satan gonna ever get you, he got to get you in the head. If he's gonna hinder you, he's gonna hinder you in the head. So in verse 5, like I said in verse 5. And he appointed them daily provisions of the king's meat. Etymology. You have to understand etymology. Etymology. Words. If words broke you down, words have to build you up. Okay, let me show you something. You can take one person in a relationship with a person who's negative and talking a bunch of stuff. And that relationship breaks down. And they run into somebody who lifts them with words. Then all of a sudden you're talking about, what happened to them? They don't even look the same. It's the teaching. It's the food that they're receiving that changes the internal parts of them. And that happens when people understand that the devil has one plan, and that's to keep you from the destiny God has created for you. His whole plan. And you know why? He keeps you from the destiny because, remember this, identity, image, destiny. Identity, image, destiny. Those three things, if you can remember that, identity, image, and destiny. Identity is who you are. I don't care what you say, this is who I am. Okay? And I'm all right being who I am. The problem with us is we stuck in image. We trying to be somebody we're not. Mm-hmm. See, you can't keep up with the Joneses with a Smith check. Mm-hmm. See, when you start dealing with image, like I said this a couple of weeks ago, and people be, you go buy something and you finna go to a party or you finna go to Mardi Gras ball and you gonna kill them. You spend all your money on shoes and nails and hair and everything that you can do because you gonna kill them. Your little 15 seconds of fame. Because once you walk in and we see you, you old. Now you done spend all that money and next week your lights off, your cell phone off, them tickets you should have paid, you didn't pay, and you depressed. But if you'd have had the solid mindset, you'd have been able to say, give me a lesser gown when I walk up in there, I'm bad by myself. See, when you know who you are, you don't have stuff don't make you. When you know who you are, you walk up in there, I'm good with being me. And when you solid and stable at who you are, that's a mindset. Years ago at our church, I used to have a Dodge Dynasty. And it was a car that when you stopped at the light, it smoked. When you pulled off, the next person had to wait to the next light. And we was at church, and we was getting ready to go to another church, and my daddy said, come here, son, let me holler at you. I said, what is it? He says, can't you ride with somebody else? I said, what you talking about? He said, bad as that car smoking, and bad as you run around here and preaching success, and you smoking? I said, Daddy, this is my wilderness car. I said, and the car don't make me. I make the car. And I'm talking about, it just didn't smoke. The windows didn't let down. You just had to stick windows up, stick paper in them, hold windows up. The headliner used to fall out. I used to get out. I had hair in, I just knock stuff out of my hair. And I remember going into churches. I had this one shirt. I had two shirts that was 100% cotton because I had seen doctors with them. And I said, how come, they go to the cleaners and they shirts you'd be staining up. And they said, how come my shirts don't do that? You don't pay what they pay for them shirts. So I said I couldn't afford but two. So when I got out, I was always hooked up. So I ain't just start dressing. I always been dressing because dressing is who I am. And I don't dress for people, I dress for me. And I'm so solid that if you don't like it, I do. Good. Go find somebody you can play with. I'm good with who I am. And when you're solid and stable at who you are, other folks don't trigger you. And so when you start getting to the point to where you know, my identity is who I am. I ain't worried about no image. Because see, I need money. I don't need image. And what we do is we throw away more money on image than you save. How you got a $600 purse and don't have $6 in the purse? What sense do that make? That's a mindset. It's a mindset. Give me $550 in the purse and I'll take $50 and get a purse. And guess what? I tell them when they say, what kind of purse is this? This is a Dupree Cook purse. I'm tired of buying Louis Vuitton and everybody else and making everybody else rich. Some stuff, I got to be comfortable with who I am because my head got to be straight. And if my head is straight and where I'm going, because guess what? My image is not important, because if you're not careful, you'll spend all you got on your image and lose your destiny. Some things you can't get right now because it ain't the season for you to get it. And that's why when you mature, you happy for other folks to get in a season. You ain't mad at nobody for getting in a season, because my season is coming too. God Almighty. Look at somebody and say, my season coming too. I ain't mad at you because it's your season. I'm going to celebrate you and I hope God bless you, but my season coming too. When your mindset messed up, you mad and you think you should have got it, now you're hating. No wonder you ain't getting blessed. You can't hear what the preacher said. You see what purse they came in with and you trying to figure out how can they fold that? How can they, but that ain't your business. You don't know who bought it. You don't know who gave it to them. You don't know nothing about it. Worry about your own house. So when you start doing that, you have to know what God has for you. Jeremiah chapter 29. Jeremiah 29. (29 and 11). For I know the thoughts that I think toward you, said the Lord. Thoughts of peace, not evil, to give you. Look, God says, if you want to know if my hand's on it, then it'll bring you peace. If it don't bring you peace, God says, I ain't in that. See, you can take people home with you who look good, but don't give you no peace. You can take people who can go home with you who fine, don't give you no peace. That lets you know quickly, this ain't of God. He said, because if it don't give you peace, it's going to bring up some evil. He said, but look at here. He said, but I'm going to give you, there's a place I designed for you. Before you was formed in your mother's womb, I designed a place for you. But the thing that keeps you out the place is your mind. See, we start getting to the point to where we intimidated by different stuff, and you can go in the neighborhood and just cause white people live there, the first thing ain't nothing but white folk over there. There's gonna be some niggers over there after a while. I'm gonna be one of them. See, if God done told me, y'all need to move over, I'm going to be right up in the middle of this mug, enjoying what God done created for me. Because if God created it for me, he'll figure out how to get me where I need to be. I'll do what I need to do to get where I need to be. And once I do what I need to do to get where I need to be, when God opens the door, I'm going in. But in my mind, I'm supposed to be here. I don't know about nobody else, but I know some of y'all say, Bishop just so arrogant. No, I'm supposed to be here. I'm not arrogant. I am sure. I'm not even sure. I'm sure. I'm sure God gonna do what he need to do. Because you know why? I know where I came from. I know what God done brought me through, and I know what God, I'm sure. I'm just as sure, and I don't care who quit, who throw in the towel. My mindset is he will finish what he started. He which has begun a good work in you, this the part I like, he gonna perform it. And God says if you can get a man to be, all things are possible to them that believe. All you got to do is believe it. And see, belief is different from having faith. Faith will produce it, but believing makes you go get it. It makes you, I'm supposed to be happy. I'm supposed to be on top. I'm supposed to be the head. I ain't supposed to be the tail. I'm supposed to be above and not beneath. I'm supposed to be blessed in the city and in the field. Everything I touch is supposed to be blessed. That's a mindset. And see, when you start getting to that point where everything, I'm blessed, and everything, that's why I come everybody can't walk in my circle. Because you know why? Everything tied to me. I ought to see everything that's tied to me. If you don't have everything I have, you ought to have some of what I have because you tied to me.
That's good.
I had people leave our church because I said something one time. A bunch of people, I said, if God bless me with the whole gator, I'm going to say it again so y'all won't get mad. I said, if God bless me with the whole gator and you walking with me, you ought to have a toe on the gator or something. And some kind of way that got misinterpreted that I said, you can't walk with me unless you have gators. That's the mindset. That's the mindset. I never said that. I said you ought to have something. See, you can't walk with something and don't pull something from it. Jesus turned around and said to his disciples, let this mind. He said, whatever you see me have to deal with, you're going to have to deal with. So how do you keep letting things get out of your hands? Mm-hmm. So God says that in order for you to fix stuff, it's going to take your mind to change. Because if you're going to reach what God has for you, you're going to have to meet the challenge of how you think. You have to be willing, and guess what? You will not change what you will not confront. Because anytime you don't confront something, you say it's all right to stay. Confrontation is the birthing place of change. People don't, why are you so mad? Why you think people don't like you? Why you struggle with your siblings? See, if you don't ask yourself those questions, and even sometimes you got to sit down with people and say, well, I feel that when this happens, this. Okay, there ain't nothing wrong with your feelings. That's how you feel. It don't mean that's what happened. That means how you feel. So then you have to be willing to hear the other person when they come back and say, well, that ain't how I intended it for it to be. See, we can live years with mess in our head. You sitting there talking about mama like you more than she like me. Just as crazy as you want to be. Every parent got children who they can somewhat trust and put some stock in it. Because after all, you wasn't nowhere. You was ripping and running and you was doing all your thing. And then when your mama started trusting and leaning on one of your other siblings, they like the most. No, you ain't never been around. Tell the truth. Stop lying. You did all you wanted to do. Some stuff you just have, people do the same thing. You know, pastor like you more than, no, they don't. You don't halfway come to church. And then when you do come to church, you act like you ain't there. Pastor preaching and you ain't moved in 6 months. You sitting up in church with your arms folded. Everybody on your road done tore up something and you the only one sitting there. Mm-hmm. And so see, if you're not willing to challenge how you think, because see, if you don't challenge how you think, not deserving it will come up. See, the church done convinced us about deserving stuff. People say, you deserve it. No, I deserve a lot of stuff, but that ain't one of them. So when God bless me, I'm going to say thank you. And I don't care how you look at me. And I don't care if you don't think I deserve it, I still got it. And if I got it, I don't need nobody to celebrate me. I celebrate myself. In order for you to get to the blessed place, Romans chapter 12. How do I get to the blessed place? Be not conformed. The word conform, hammered, shape. We do stuff. You see it on Facebook. You see it on TV. Now you're conforming to it. But the scripture says, be not. Don't be conformed to the world, but be ye transformed. I'm going to be changed by what? Okay, look at the text right there. When it says, you see the word renewing? The word renewing is female gender feminine case. It means to keep giving birth to. Okay, the word renewing actually is a word that means anachronosis. Anachronosis is what we did to the church. It means to renovate. Same building. We took out what we didn't need and we put in what we did need. Because what we had was for our past. What we got is for our future. But see, some people can't get rid of the past because you're so married to your history that you can't succumb to your destiny. Your destiny never can come to place because you still hooked to your history. You talking about where we used to be and what we used to do and what and you talking about all that. You ain't talking about what we finna do. And so people can make us guilty to not walk out from under the umbrella and get where we need to be. So you're gonna leave me too. Now you're feeling obligated to stay back, to be comfortable with people who are uncomfortable but unwilling to move. They mad at you because you're moving, and they want you to stay back with them. The devil is a lie. I done stayed back long enough. I done been through all kind of hell, and if God got some better days for me, if you ain't coming, see you, wouldn't want to be you. I ain't got time to sit around and wait on you and hope you change, because I see different, and my mindset done changed, and I want everything. Because if your mindset don't change, even though you come in here, you'll still be mad. You'll still have an attitude. You'll still never fully embrace what God done. And when you don't fully embrace it, you can't fully get the fruit out of it. If this don't become your house, this is the house that God got me in. I ain't talking about harvest. I ain't talking about right spirit. I'm talking about the glory place. This is the place. And I ain't finna let nothing mess up the place, because I need this place to be successful to get me where I need to be. Hey, Shabbat. Woo. And so if you're not careful, you'll end up missing what God's trying to do for you. He says, by the renewing of your mind. Look what he says. So you can prove. See, this is the importance of you being in your destiny. How you going to talk to people about the goodness of the Lord when you have not experienced it? You can't keep selling people blanks. People want to know, what is he doing for you? You trying to get me to give up weed? You trying to get me to give up Patron? You trying to get me to give up Hennessy? You trying to get me to give up all the laughing juice? And you depressed all the time. You just as depressed as you can be. You saved, sanctified, and filled with the Holy Ghost fire and can't get warm. I want to know what's working for you, that you may prove what is good and acceptable and I want you to know, when you get in the will of God, you see fruit. But the mindset say, I got to get in the place so God can do what he needs to do. So when I get to that point, John chapter 8, verse 36. John chapter 8, verse 36. You have Romans 8, Ron. You need me to lay hands on you, son? Somebody read it. 8:36, the one we started out with. If the Son, therefore, you see the word therefore? You got to ask yourself, what is therefore? Because it talks about if the Son makes you free. So God said, my word is sent to clear your head, to make you free. And if my word is sent to make you free, you shall be free. Okay, now let me show you the back part of that. Indeed is just not a word indeed. It's a word in deeds. In the things you do. You'll be free in the things you do. Some of y'all look at me like, wow, but it's indeed. I mean, in the things you do. Okay, if I'm free, I'm just not free in God, but I'm free in the things. I'm comfortable because my mindset is good. Now see, to live a balanced life is not churchy, but it's godly. See, it's not churchy, but it's godly. Because Jesus says to his disciples, go find you some leisure time. You can't do ministry all the time. Go find you some leisure time. Because no finding of leisure time leads to burnout. Anything that you do all the time eventually burns you out. So that's how come we teach balanced life, full life. You can do things without being sinful. You can go to Vegas without being sinful. You can go to New Orleans without being sinful. But if people don't teach you that, get it in your head, you think it's about being deep and wonderful and not touchable. See, the power of a changed man. You can do anything that you want to do. You can achieve, accomplish, and still be saved, sanctified, and Holy Ghost filled. Because the church teach you everything you lose. Nobody teaches you anything about what you get. You got to give up the world. But that means I don't need to go to work. See, some stuff I told you, everybody tells you what you got to give up. That's like a lot of times people don't want to be saved because all you talk about is what I got to lose. You don't tell me nothing that I'm going to win. You don't tell me nothing about freedom. You don't tell me nothing about, but that's a mindset. Religion can be a mindset, but relationship is a reality. You can be religious all day long. You religiously go to work. Religion just means to loop it, to make it consistent. So just because you go to church don't mean you're effective in church. Because the actually work of the church is not in the church. It's outside the church. And if you're not willing to go outside to do actually ministry, doing actually ministry, that's ministry. See, there's a difference between doing church and doing ministry. Most churches can't afford to do ministry because you just got enough money to do church. See, but when your mindset is right and you start believing things that God has for you, then God says, this is what I do. I put money in your hand so you can put money in the basket. And when you put money in the basket, now we can do ministry. Bring ye all the tithes to my storehouse, that there may be meat in my house. The meat is for able to feed and to do. But see, the meat ain't even for the streets. The meat for the house. That's like when people come out and tell me, ain't y'all the church, y'all help people? Who church you go to? Our church is not obligated to help you. You don't help our church.
That's right.
So don't try to use me.
There you go, Bishop.
I'll help you if I want to. But if I don't feel that I need to help you, then I ain't the one. Call somebody else.
That's it, Bishop. That's good.
They got a church right down the road. They probably help.
That's good. That's good.
And so, see, and then folks say, you supposed to be a Christian. I ain't supposed to be, I am. I've had people tell me, you supposed to be a bishop. I am. When I owned the daycare, a lady come in there and she said, I come in and get stuff straight because you supposed to be the bishop. I said, that was yesterday. I was bishop on Sunday. Today, Monday, I'm a business owner. And you got to pay to leave your children. That, you know, I ain't speaking in tongues. I ain't trying to do that. I'm trying to get paid. See, you can't run me in the ground like that. Because it's a mindset. Once you get your mindset, God can do extremely, exceedingly, abundantly above all you could ask or think, because you think you're supposed to have it. Because God says when you don't think you're supposed to have it, I'm not obligated to give it to you. Because if I give it to you, then the first thing you're going to say, I ain't asked you for it. That's why it's important for you to ask for what you want. So that's the contract signing. And then when you ask for what you want, you shall have what you say. I'm finished.